यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यामुनतीरवनचारे यामुनतीरवनचारे जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारे जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारे जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय गुरुदेव शिल प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। Thank you once again, dear devotees, for kindly assembling here on a Sunday. I am so happy to be here amongst all of you. I see so many faces that I recognize, so many friends are here. Thank you so much for kindly being present here. I'll begin by Mangalacharan, auspicious invocations. Most of us know these verses. You can kindly sing along with me. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले सोऽयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरौ श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवे प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। शिल प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। So I am very happy to be here, dear devotees. I will begin with a quote from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada says something about deity worship, and here is what Srila Prabhupada says. Prabhu, kindly read what Prabhupada says.
I am pleased also that you are decorating your temple nicely. And the more you decorate the temple beautifully, the more your heart will be beautiful. The example is that the more you decorate the original, the more the reflection automatically is decorated. So, our heart is the reflection of the original consciousness, Krishna. And the more Krishna and his paraphernalia are decorated, the more this will be reflected in our heart and we'll feel transcendental bliss.
Jai Ho. So, Srila Prabhupada is speaking so wonderfully about the seva of Shri Vigraha or seva of the deity. And Srila Prabhupada says that the more you decorate the temple beautifully, the more your heart will be beautiful. It's a very nice indication of the fact that actually the real seva of the deities begins within the heart. It is from the heart that the seva of the deities begins. And it is this cleansing of the heart which is very easily achievable by performing deity worship. Actually speaking, in all forms of religiosity in the world, there are many forms of religiosity which are impersonal in nature. Impersonal in the sense that they do not accept any worship of any form of the Supreme. So there are many impersonal conceptions of worship prevalent throughout the world. But even in those impersonal conceptions of religion in the world, you will find that they have places of worship, and inside the places of worship they have symbols which they consider as very sacred. In every religion, they have some symbols which they consider as very sacred. So you cannot get rid of forms. No matter, even if you are an impersonalist, you cannot get rid of worship of a form. And there was a very famous impersonalist in India who rejected the worship of all forms, of all gods. But later, when he left this world, his followers made an ashram with his murti inside it. I said, so dear devotees, no matter how much you try to get rid of worship of form, you cannot get rid of it. No matter how impersonal a religion may be, still they have some symbolism or some worship of form which is inherent part of that particular religion. We humans are ourselves having a form, and we humans also need a form in order to perform seva or connect with the absolute truth. But often, dear devotees, it is said, for those who are atheistic, it is said, the atheists don't believe in the fact that God can be present within an image. It is very difficult for atheists and impersonalists to believe this. And so it is necessary for us Vaishnavas to understand how Bhagwan is present in the deity. Sometimes some individuals have a misconception that Bhagavan is inside the deity. That Bhagavan is inside the deity. Bhagavan is not inside the deity. The Gaudiya Vaishnava understanding is that Bhagavan is the deity. But when we look at the deity from an ordinary vision, we feel that the deity is made out of a material substance, such as stone, metal, wood, etc. So how is it that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas say that the deity is directly a form of Bhagavan? So this has been explained by the previous acharyas, dear devotees. I am explaining the Siddhanta that has been given by the previous acharyas, and this Siddhanta we should try to understand. Here we can see a particular deity. Can anybody recognize which deity this is, dear devotees? This is, yes. Okay, Radha. This is Radha Madan Mohan in Karoli, Jaipur. So this is the original Radha Madan Mohan in Karoli, Jaipur. This is Radha Damodar. In which place, dear devotees? Vrindavan. And this Shri Vigraha we can recognize, Radha Madhav. In which place? Mayapur. A very simple question I will ask. Do all of the Krishnas look same or do they look different? So which one of them is Krishna and which one of them is imagination of the sculptor? They are all Krishna. How can Krishna be 10 different ways? Yeah, Krishna can be 1,000 different ways, but there should be a fixed form of Shri Krishna, right? Isn't it? The further you go back in history, you will see that the deities are slightly lesser polished. And recent deities are heavily polished deities, like, very accurate. Glossy deities. So, which one of them is Krishna and which one of them is not Krishna? But all of them are Krishna. But Krishna looks in a specific way. We all know Krishna looks in a specific way, and Krishna also has a specific height. Krishna also has a specific bodily height, bodily features, and the deities, many of them may not resemble Shri Krishna as he looks in the spiritual world. See, every deity is carved by a mental conception that the person who is crafting the deity has. I hope you are able to understand. We are speaking bare facts here. When a deity is carved, first and foremost, the person who is carving the deity, they have a mental impression of how Krishna looks. And then according to their mental impression, they carve the deity. Now, Sundaran Prabhu, is your mental impression of Shri Krishna and my mental impression of Shri Krishna, is it going to be the same or is it going to be different? Different? Can be different. And let's say 4 people make a deity. Are all of their mental conceptions of the form of Krishna going to be the same or different? Different. Of course they are going to be different. Dear devotees, even when paintings are made, this is a painting which was made under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada. So is Krishna present in the painting, dear devotees? Acha. And if I take a photograph of the painting, is Krishna present in the photograph? And if I take a photograph of the photograph, is Krishna present in that? So what exactly is the Tattva? Dear devotees, now we have to understand what is the Tattva behind this, and Sri Rupa Goswami will explain this thing to us. Please hear very carefully, dear devotees. Actually, the truth is that all these forms are made according to the mental conception of the person who carved the deity. I hope you are able to understand. How many can put faith in this fact? Please raise your hands. Okay. The forms were created according to the mental conception of the person who carved the deity. Because the person who carved the deity has material senses. And using a material senses, he created an impression which was there in his material mind. But dear devotees, there is a process by which Bhagavan voluntarily descends and becomes non-different from any particular form. And that process, dear devotees, there is a technical name for it. Please repeat after me. Atidesh. Atidesh is a process described in Shastra by which Bhagwan becomes non-different from any particular form if we invite Bhagwan with a mood of seva. If we invite Bhagwan with a mood of seva. Sri Rupa Goswami says this in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. He gives the Siddhanta. Please sing the verse after me. Atah Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhaved Grahyam Indriyai Sevonmukhe hi jihvadau Swayam eva sphuratyadah. Ataha, therefore the conclusion is this. Shri Krishna Nam. What is the meaning of Shri Krishna Nam? The name of Shri Krishna. Adi, etc. The form of Shri Krishna. Na bhaved grahyam indriya. You cannot grasp with your material senses the form of Krishna, the name of Krishna, anything related to Krishna cannot be grasped by the ordinary material senses. But seva unmukhe, the most important factor is given in the third line. The first word, dear devotees, what is the first word in the third line? Seva unmukhe. When the inclination is to render seva, Jihvadau swayam eva spurati. Bhagwan himself descends on the various forms that you have created, becomes non-different from that form and accepts seva through that particular form. I hope you are able to understand. But that one intention should be there. What intention should be there, dear devotees? Seva. The intention should be to render seva. Therefore, you may see that there is one form of the deity also known as Shalagram Shila. Does Shalagram Shila have any hands or feet? No, it doesn't have any hands or feet. But is Bhagwan non-different from Shalagram Shila? Yes. He is non-different from the Shalagram Shila because of one particular attitude of the devotee. Which particular attitude of the devotee, dear devotees? Seva unmukhe. When the intention is to render seva, everything that is material can become spiritual. And this is applicable to any activity of bhakti. I will ask another simple question. Just now Kirtan was going on. How do we know whether it was genuinely Harinam or whether it was just the utterance of material syllables? I hope you are able to understand. How do we know if it was genuinely Harinam or if it was just utterance of material syllables? The mood, okay. Let's boil down to one word, dear devotees, given in the third line. What is the mood, dear devotees? Seva. Seva unmukhe. When the tendency is to render what, dear devotees? Seva. Even ordinary Bhagwan descends on the ordinary material syllables Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, becomes non-different from the syllables and thus something material is automatically transformed into something spiritual. I hope you are able to understand. This is the entire demarcating principle between the material and the spiritual. How do we know if something is food or something is prasad? Two people may offer something to Bhagwan. How do we know if Bhagwan had accepted it or not? So what is the answer, dear devotees? Seva. If the mood was what? Of rendering seva. So then this mood of rendering seva is the demarcating line between what is material and what is spiritual. Two people are thinking of Krishna, performing smaran of Krishna. How do we know which one of them is performing genuine smaran and which one of them is just performing imagination? We don't know. But Shri Krishna will know by deciding on the basis of one factor. Which factor, dear devotees? Seva. If the intention was to render what? Seva. Then Bhagwan will descend on the image within the mind. Because let's say Prabhu may also perform smaran and I may also perform smaran, but his mental image of Krishna and my mental image of Krishna, are they going to be the same or are they going to be different, dear devotees? Different. But how do we know that he also performed smaran and I also performed smaran? So we will know that if the intention of both of us was to render what? Seva. Once I went to Mayapur. In Mayapur, there is Prachin Mayapur. On the other side of the river Ganga, there is Prachin Mayapur. There is a mandir, there is a temple of Narsimha Dev called Narsimhapalli. Anybody has visited Narsimhapalli? A few devotees. I went first time, it was very old deity. First time I went, I looked at the deity, looked nothing like Narsimha Dev. I had to try hard to see Narsimha Dev in the deity. If you look at the old deities, the devotees, many of them you will find difficult to see that Bhagwan's shape is properly present in that deity. But is Bhagwan present in that deity? Yes or no? Yes. By which principle, dear devotees? Seva. So when seva is there, the principle of Atidesh. What is Atidesh, dear devotees? An exact copy of all the attributes of Bhagwan manifests in the deity. All the attributes of Bhagwan, an exact copy manifests in the deity. This process is known as what, dear devotees? Atidesh. So, here is the translation of the verse. Kindly read, Prabhuji.
The names, forms, etc. of Sri Krishna cannot be grasped by the ordinary senses. It is only when these senses, such as tongue, etc., become inclined to genuine service that these names, forms, etc. of Sri Krishna manifest spontaneously on the ordinary senses.
So, dear devotees, the deity was carved using ordinary senses. Everybody agrees, yes or no? Yes. But is Bhagwan non-different from the deity? Yes. Because when the Pran Pratishtha was done, when the deity was installed, at that time one mood was present in the devotee who installed the deity. Which mood was present, dear devotees? Seva. Bhagavan, please manifest so that you can accept seva. And with that principle of seva in mind, Bhagavan descends on the deity, becomes non-different from the deity, and thus accepts seva from the deity. This, dear devotees, is known as the principle of Atidesh. What is the principle, dear devotees? Atidesh. Sri Jiva Goswami says in Bhakti Sandarbha, please repeat after me. Laukika Bhagavan Niketasyapi Tad Aveshan Nairgunyam Ati Dishyate. Can you see Ati Dishyate in the end? This principle is called Ati Desh. What is the meaning of Ati Desh? Ati Desh means when all the qualities of one entity are copied and applied to another entity. That principle is known as what? Atidesh. For example, we will say, this is not Mridanga, this is Balaram himself. I hope you are able to understand. All the properties of Sri Balaram were applied to which entity, dear devotees? Mridanga. This principle is known as what? Atidesh. In Shastra, there is a statement by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Na griham griham ityahur grihini griham uchyate. The home is not the home. It is the wife who is the home. I hope you are able to understand. So, all the qualities of the home are applied to whom, dear devotees? The wife. This is the principle. What is the name of the principle, dear devotees? Atidesh. Okay. Or for example, let's say, if me and Prabhu, Sundaran Prabhu, we are walking together and suddenly there is a wild animal who attacks us, and Sundaran Prabhu fights very bravely and defeats the wild animal. So I will say, he is not Sundaran Prabhu, he is a lion. I hope you are. So all the qualities of lion are now applied to whom? Sundaran Prabhu. Wonderful, Prabhuji. So this, dear devotees, this principle, what is the name of this principle, dear devotees? Atidesh. So this principle of Atidesh gets applicable when you establish a mandir, a temple for Bhagavan. So Sri Jiva Goswami says, Laukika. Laukika means in the material world. Bhagavan Niketa. There is the temple of Bhagavan. Api tad aveshan. When you perform the pran pratishtha of the temple, you invite the entire spiritual world to descend upon the particular building that you have created. Now the temple that is created using stones, rocks, bricks, cement, mortar. But dear devotees, although it is created using material substances, But the entire spiritual world descends on the temple and becomes non-different from it by which principle, dear devotees? Atidesh, when the prana pratishtha is performed. Now, who is the central figure in the spiritual world? Krishna. And who is the central figure in the temple, dear devotees? The deity. So, just as the temple becomes non-different from the spiritual world, the Shri Vigraha, the deity, also becomes non-different from whom? Shri Krishna. This is the process of Atidesh. And this is how even a temple in the material world becomes free from the modes of material nature. And Bhagavan accepts seva through the via medium of his presence as Shri Vigraha in the temple. Here is the translation, Prabhu. Kindly read the translation.
Even in a temple in the material world, there is complete presence of the spiritual world and the Bhagavan by the principle of Atidesha.
Yes. So we all know now what is the meaning of Atidesh. What is Atidesh? That a complete copy of all the qualities of one entity is applied to another entity. In this case, all the qualities of Bhagavan get applied to whom? The deity. So before prana pratishtha, before installing the deity, it was made out of some material substance. But when prana pratishtha was performed, Bhagavan voluntarily descended upon the form that was created. And why did Bhagavan descend, dear devotees? Seeing what did Bhagavan descend? Seva unmukhe. That the tendency was to render what? Seva. Hence Bhagavan descends, becomes non-different from that particular form, and then you call it non-different from Bhagavan, Shri Vigraha. So this is the difference between Pratima. Pratima is idol, and Shri Vigraha, the deity of Bhagavan. That is the difference between idol and deity. The difference is Atidesh, and this Atidesh happens because Seva Unmukhe, that there is inclination for performing Seva of Shri Krishna. Dear devotees, in deity worship, there are two main limbs that Sri Rupa Goswami defines in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. These are two main limbs related to deity worship. Please repeat after me. The first limb, Archanam. Archanam is initial preparation of the worship. So before we actually worship the deity, we clean the temple, we prepare all the paraphernalia, and we sprinkle water on all the paraphernalia. This initial preparation is also known as what, dear devotees? Archanam. And after it is prepared, then actual worship of the deity, when you start doing arti, that is the second limb described in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Please repeat. Paricharya. Paricharya is defined as Ragya Iva Seva. Sri Jiva Goswami says, Raja ki tarah seva, or service exactly like a king. Ragya Iva Seva. So when a king enters into his assembly, all the things that are offered to a king, those all things are also offered to Shri Vigraha. So traditionally, when a king would enter into his assembly, so first thing would be, there would be conch blown. I hope you are able to understand. Who is entering? Maharaj is entering. After conch is blown, dear devotees, then there are people who are singing Mangal Vachi, or they are singing nicely for him. Then there are bells being rung. And then there is somebody doing arati, there is somebody giving the incense, there is somebody showing a lamp, there is somebody showing chamar, fan. I hope you are able to understand. So Paricharya is Ragya Iva Seva, service of the deity exactly like a king. So these are two limbs of deity worship as they are described in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu by Sri Rupa Goswami. Dear devotees, one of the most important factors to be known by a person who is worshipping Shri Vigraha is that even though we respect our highest worshipable Lord is Shri Krishna, but we should not disrespect other devatas. In fact, not disrespecting other devatas is one of the 64 limbs of bhakti. There are some limbs of bhakti which are negative. By not doing something, we perform bhakti. So one of the negative limbs of bhakti is to not disrespect other devatas. Sri Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Here are the direct words of Sri Rupa Goswami. Harireva sadaradhya sarvadeveshwareshwarah itare brahma rudradhya navagyeya kadachana. Harir eva sada aradhya. Hari is always our worshipable. Why? Sarva Deva Ishvare Ishvaraha. He is the supreme lord of all the devatas in the universe. So there is no doubt that Shri Krishna is the Swayam Bhagwan, supreme personality of Godhead. But at the same time, Itare, other deities such as whom first name is mentioned, Brahma, and second is Rudra, Adi, Ganesh, Shakti, Adi, any other Vedic deity, na avagyeya, should never be disrespected at any point of time. So those who are Vaishnavas should take, especially they should take care that at any point of time they should never disrespect other devatas. And this is one of the 64 limbs of bhakti, failing which one's deity worship will also turn into a failure. So this is what Sri Rupa Goswami says. Please read the translation, Prabhu.
Hari is the Supreme Lord, and thus He is to be worshipped always. At the same time, other devatas such as Brahma, Rudra, etc. are never to be disrespected.
This, dear devotees, you can see, this is limb number, what, dear devotees? 17 of 64 limbs. So 17th limb of bhakti as given by Sri Rupa Goswami is, please repeat after me, Anya, Deva, Anavagya. Anya Deva Anavagya, which means not disrespecting other gods, is one of the 64 limbs of bhakti. So every devotee should understand that although we worship Shri Krishna as the highest, most supreme personality of Godhead, any disrespect of other devatas will lead to failure on this path of deity worship and on the path of bhakti, dear devotees. Very important to understand. In the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Sri Rupa Goswami has said that the other devatas in the material world are known as Adhikrit Das. Adhikrit Das means they are appointed servants of Bhagwan in the material world. Sri Rupa Goswami has said. So Bhagwan will not tolerate any insult of his Adhikrit Das, of his appointed servants in the material world. Therefore, a devotee should especially never disrespect any other devatas. Not only other devatas, dear devotees, one should know that while worshipping, one should worship Vishnu and other deities which are non-Vedic. There are some deities which are not mentioned in the Vedas but which have recently cropped up. Some, because from time to time people invent new gods. So what attitude should a devotee have towards that is specified by our Acharya. Sri Jiva Goswami quotes Sri Madhvacharya. Please repeat after me. Tasmadavaidikanam cha devanam archanam tyaje swatantra pujanam yatra vaidikanam api tyaje. So, tasmad avaidikanam cha devanam archanam tyajet. There are many, recently cropped up deities which are not mentioned in Vedic literature. So, their worship should not be performed. This is what the Acharyas say. Only worship of those Vedic deities who are mentioned in the Shastras. Which Shastras, dear devotees? Vedas, Itihas, Puran. If a Vedic deity is mentioned in the Veda, Itihas, Puran, that worship should be performed. Because human society has a nature, sometimes they elevate one ordinary human being to the status of a devata and they start worshipping that. But if that devata is not mentioned in the Shastra, then one should not worship such a devata, because only those devatas who are mentioned in the Shastra, the Ved, Puran and Itihas, those devatas should be worshipped, dear devotees. And Swatantra Pujanam Yatra Vaidikanam Api Tyajet. Even Vedic devatas should not be worshipped independently of Vishnu or Krishna. Archayitva Jagadvandyam Devam Narayanam Harim. Tad avarana samsthanam devasya paritorchat. Sri Jiva Goswami says, if you go to old temples, dear devotees, you will see in the center there is a murti of Sri Krishna or Sri Vishnu. Around that there are avarana devatas. Avarana devatas means some devatas who are protecting the 10 directions. So, we can worship Vishnu, and after worshipping Vishnu, we can worship the devatas around that particular deity of Sri Vishnu. And one should offer first, one should offer everything to Vishnu, and then the remnants one should offer to the devatas. Here is what Sri Jiva Goswami says. Please read the translation, Prabhu.
Therefore, one should give up worship of non-Vedic deities. One should also give up independent worship of Vedic deities by considering them the supreme. However, having worshipped Hari as the supreme, one can worship the other devatas around him as his subordinates. The remnants of Hari should be offered to them.
Yes, dear devotees. And it's very important to also understand that deity worship is meant for somebody who respects other living entities. Bhagwan severely dislikes a person if he performs deity worship, but at the same time does not have respect for other human beings. This principle is mentioned in Shastra. Dear devotees, Bhagwan himself says, Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma avasthitah sada tamavagyaya mamartyah kuruter cha vidambanam. Dear devotees, please try to understand this thing. Bhagwan is present in the deity, yes, but Bhagwan is also present in the hearts of all the living entities. One who simply recognizes Bhagwan as being present in the deity, but doesn't recognize Bhagwan's presence in the heart of other living entities, and that person, if he worships the deity but insults other living entities or disrespects other living entities, Bhagwan becomes tremendously unhappy with such a person, and such a person's deity worship does not acquire success. Bhagwan says, Aham sarveshu bhuteshu. In all the living entities, bhuta atma avasthita. I am situated as Paramatma, super soul. Tam avagyaya, disrespecting me in the heart. Mam martya kurute archa vidambanam. If somebody performs deity worship, that is simply a false imitation, and I don't accept the deity worship of such a person. This is Bhagwan speaking in the 3rd canto. Kapil Muni says, please read, Prabhu.
I am present in every living entity as a super soul. If someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation.
Yeah. So, dear devotees, it is very important for those who are performing Murti Puja, Shri Vigraha Puja, that they should also respect the Murti of Bhagwan present in the hearts of each and every living entity that they see. The respect of other living entities is an integral part of performing Shri Vigraha Puja, Shri Vigraha Seva. And especially those who are householders should note this point, dear devotees. If we see a person who is hungry, who is a little struck by poverty, the duty of the householder is to help such a person. Bhagwan has made a verse especially for that, dear devotees. Here is the verse. Atmanascha parasyapi yah karotyantarodaram tasya bhinna drasho mrityu vidadhe bhayamulbanam. Atmanascha parasya api yah karoti antar udaram. One who differentiates antar udaram between Atmanaha, himself, and Parasya, and others. Such a person who differentiates between himself and others, the Acharyas say, Antar udaram, udar also means stomach. He feeds himself but does not feed other living entities. On seeing that those living entities are hungry, tasya bhinna drisho, for such a separatist who has this separatist vision, Mrityur vidadhe. I will cause him to take birth again and again. Bhaya mulbanam. And he will have to face fear in this world, because although he had lot of sampatti, although he had lot of resources, he did not satisfy the poor living entities who were suffering. Therefore, if we see any living entity who is poor or hungry, the acharyas say in the commentary to this, if we see any living entity who is poor and hungry, the devotee should always feed them prasad. What should be fed to them, dear devotees? Prasad should be fed to such a person. Such a person should not be kept hungry. A devotee should not selfishly feed their own stomach and keep others hungry, because that will lead to a complete failure of the process of deity worship. Here is the translation. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 3:29-26. Please read, Prabhu.
For a person having a differential outlook, who differentiates between the belly of himself and of other living entities, I, the Supreme Lord, appear in the form of all-devouring death and continue his existence in the fearsome material world.
So it is very important for grihasthas to perform deity worship, and it is very important for grihasthas to engage their wealth in serving the deity and also serving other living entities. Serving other living entities is an integral part of performing deity worship. The devotee is one who neglects the service of other living entities on the strength of saying that I am performing deity worship, that when Krishna is satisfied, everybody is satisfied. Many times, some individuals give an argument, when Krishna is satisfied, everybody is satisfied. So we will offer bhoga to Krishna. Why should we feed that poor person on the street? Isn't it? Some people give an argument. They should apply the argument to themselves, that they should give bhoga to Krishna and remain hungry. Isn't it? Because when Krishna is satisfied, who is satisfied? Everybody is satisfied. Then stop eating. So dear devotees, this sort of a false line of argumentation should not be taken by the Vaishnava. The Vaishnava knows that just as I feed myself, just as I feel hungry in my stomach, similarly that person on the street also is feeling what? Hungry. And I cannot use a false argument that by feeding Bhagwan, I am feeding everybody, so there is no need to separately feed that person. Therefore, dear devotees, Srila Prabhupada, when he was in Mayapur, he saw something which invoked a lot of piteousness within him. He saw that there were poor children on the street, and they were fighting with the stray dogs on the street for one piece of roti, one piece of bread. He saw in Mayapur that some poor children were fighting with the dogs to get one piece of bread from the dogs. And Srila Prabhupada became so moved at this point of time that he said that within a radius of 1 kilometer or something like that, within this radius, nobody in Mayapur should go hungry. At that time, Srila Prabhupada did not say that tasmin tushte jagat tushtam. He did not say like that, by satisfying Krishna, everybody is satisfied. So this is the nature of a Vaishnava, that a Vaishnava is never devoid of any acts of charity, especially when a Vaishnava has the needed resources to perform charity. Bhartrihari, a very famous poet of Sanskrit poetics, he makes a very important statement, dear devotees. He says that money can end up in one of the three ways. Money ends up in one of the three ways, dear devotees. Alright? Please speak the end result of the money after me. First is, dear devotees, Dan. Second is Bhog. And third is Nash. Alright? Money ends up in one of these three places. Which three places, dear devotees? Dan, Bhog, Nash. There is no fourth destination for money. Either you give Dan. Dan means you give charity. Jai Ho. Shri Radha Madhav Bhagavan ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Sudarshan Bhagavan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Either we give Dan. What is the meaning of Dan, dear devotees? Charity. Charity means when we are giving charity, we are giving it to ourselves in the next life. Please try to understand. When we are giving charity, we are not giving to somebody else. We are giving to whom? ourselves. In which life, dear devotees? Next life. So first is dan. Second is bhog, or you enjoy yourself. But if you don't perform dan and bhog, or bhog, then automatically money will go to the third destination. What is the third destination, dear devotees? Nash. So either engage money in dan or engage money in what? Bhoga. But let money not go to the third destination, Nash, it's destruction, dear devotees. In fact, there is a very famous verse about this, that a grihastha especially should never be miserly. A very nice verse, dear devotees, please hear very carefully. Have you heard about the most charitable person in the universe? Karna? Okay, no. There is somebody more charitable than Karna. No. More charitable than Rantidev. No. More charitable than Vali Maharaj. The most charitable person in the universe is the miserly person. Dear devotees, please hear the verse and sing after me. Kripanena samodata न भूतो न भविष्यति अस्पृशन्नेव वित्तानि यः परेभ्यः प्रयच्छति. Please hear carefully, dear devotees. Kripanena samodata na bhuto na bhavishyati. In the past there has not been such a great donor. In the future there will not be such a great donor as the miserly person. You know why, dear devotees? Asprishaneva vittani yaha parebhya prayachati. Are, he gives away all his wealth to others even without touching it himself. I hope you are able to understand. No? Yes? How does he give away his wealth to others without touching it? After death it is automatically taken by others. Acha, you know one more thing. If he would have at least touched it and given to others, at least he would have gotten the pious reaction of that. But he is such a charitable person, he didn't even want that pious reaction. Have you met such a charitable person? Not only did he give up his wealth, he also gave up the piety of donation. Can you find any such person in the universe, dear devotees? Even Karna was not like that. Karna at least wanted that I will get positive reaction for donation. Bali Maharaj wanted, I will get positive reaction for donation. But this person doesn't even want that. Socho? Is there any person more charitable than the miserly person? No. It's a sarcastic remark, dear devotees. Please read the translation.
There has never been, nor will there ever be, any charitable person in the world as the miser. Just see, the miser gives away all his wealth to others, even without touching it.
Jai. Dear devotees, especially those who are grihasthas should make it a point. There is a verse in Shastra which says, Rikta panirna pashyetam rajanam devatam gurum. Never see three people empty-handed. Which three people one should not see empty-handed? Rajanam, a politician or an important government figure. You should not go just empty-handed smiling. Give some gift to them. Second is Guru. When one meets one's Guru, one should not meet the Guru empty-handed. And third is Devata. Devata is the deity, Shri Vigraha. When we come in front of Shri Vigraha, we should always, whenever possible, we should try to offer something. So devotees should make a point, whenever they come in front of the deity, they should give some little charity, maybe $1 or something like that. As a token charity, they should give something to the deity, because one should not see the deity empty-handed. So this, dear devotees, is a very important principle on the path of performing seva of Shri Vigraha. At this point of time, dear devotees, I will pause my speech. Thank you very, very much, dear devotees. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Wonderful. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Okay. So there is time for Q&A. Anybody wants to ask anything? Yes, Prabhu. And then we'll.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for this amazing class.
Yeah.
my question for you was, you had mentioned that deities, by the process of Atidesh, enter into, or Bhagwan, by the process of Atidesh, enters into the deity, and you mentioned Pran Pratishtha. But if Seva is the bhav with which Atidesh happens, is it necessary to do Pran Pratishtha? Can, just by doing Seva without Pran Pratishtha, achieve Atidesh?
Okay, wonderful question. That simply the mood of seva is required for Bhagwan to appear within a form. Is Pran Pratishtha required for a deity? Huh? So, if you see, there are two paths in Bhakti. One is called as Vidhi Marg. Vidhi Marg is the path of scriptural rules and regulations. One is called as the Rag Marg. Rag Marg is the path of spontaneous love. In Vidhi Marg, Shastra says that there should be a formal Pran Pratishtha ceremony. This is according to Vidhi Marg. But in Rag Marg, even if that formal Pran Pratishtha is not there, but if that prema is there in the heart of the devotee, then Bhagwan will manifest spontaneously. I'll give you a very simple example of Rag Marg. For example, Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami always desired that I should have deities, but he had Shalagram Shila. So, although he had never performed any formal, because Shalagram doesn't require any formal installation, but his desire in his heart grew so much of performing seva of Bhagwan, that Bhagwan manifested spontaneously out of that Shalagram, and today we have Sri Radha Raman. But so, no special Pran Pratishtha was performed. So, this is Rag Marg. But Vidhi Marg, the path of scriptural injunctions, also says that it is better to get things done according to a particular procedure. So that at least you followed the Vedic procedure, invoked the Vedic mantras, officially invited Bhagwan by chanting the Vedic mantras. So that official invitation is known as Vidhi Marg, and informal, unofficial welcoming is known as which marg? Rag Marg. So both are okay, as long as the devotee is of that caliber, that they can invite Bhagwan simply by their prema. Okay, so this is one. Yeah, we have one question in the back. Yeah, we'll get the mic to you. Please use the mic.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I missed a lot of the discussion, but in the end, you were saying that like we should do like three things, but you shouldn't go empty-handed to three different places. And the first one you said was a leader or a politician or someone. Can you explain that? I mean, I don't want to give politicians money and all that. So I'm wondering, why do we have to go to politicians with money?
Okay. So your question is, you don't want to give any money to the politicians, because you're already paying so much tax. So why should I give more money to them? So the verse does not say give money, but it says Rikta Panir. If you are meeting an important government official with some purpose in your mind, go with some gift. Some gift means take some token of appreciation for them, so that they will be more eager to listen to you. So you may take some flowers, bouquet, something like that. I hope you are able to understand. Similar with the deities also. If you may not want to give, if you cannot give Lakshmi every time, give some token of appreciation to the deities. But sometimes it is easier just to give money. So if we have money immediately accessible, we should give to the deity from time to time. Many times we come to the temple and take darshan of the deities, but we don't reciprocate with Shri Vigraha. So we should definitely try to do that by, giving some reciprocation. Okay. So I hope that satisfies your query. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the nice talk. Yeah, I have like slightly unrelated, but what is your opinion on Vedic astrology, Jyotish Shastra, and the remedies especially?
Okay.
Should we follow as Vaishnavas?
Okay. What is my personal opinion on Jyotish Shastra and remedies? Okay. No, I will not first I will give the opinion of the authentic Shastras, because that opinion is more authentic than my personal opinion. The four Vedas are the core or the crux of all Vedic philosophy, the four Vedas, And besides the 4 Vedas, there are 6 Vedangas, 6 limbs of the Vedas. These 6 Vedangas, and dear devotees, please repeat after me. Vyakaran. Vyakaran is grammar, dear devotees. Second, Chanda. Chanda is prosody, meters. You sing the verses in various meters, that is called as Chanda. Then, third is Kalpa. Kalpa is how to perform rituals of the Vedas, that is Kalpa. Fourth, Nirukta. Nirukta is the Vedic dictionary. So, and then one of them, please repeat after me, Jyotisha. So, Jyotish is one of the 6 limbs of the Vedas. So, this Jyotish has 2 aspects, Ganit Jyotish, Phalit Jyotish. Ganit Jyotish is the astronomical aspect, that you do the calculation, mathematical calculation nicely. Because anybody who is not a nice mathematician cannot be a nice astrologer. So that is called Ganit Jyotish. And the second aspect is Phalit Jyotish, the prediction aspect. So this prediction aspect comes later. First comes the mathematical aspect of calculating everything. It is Vedic Vidya, Ved Vidya. And it should be respected very much because it is Jyotish which helps us determine when is Ekadashi, when is Dwadashi, when is Trayodashi. I hope you are able to, which science is required to determine the time of Paran in Dwadashi. Which science will be required? Can everybody tell me? Jyotish. Ganit Jyotish. Which Jyotish, dear devotees? Ganit. So Ganit Jyotish is so important for the Vaishnavas. Our entire Vaishnav calendar is based upon Jyotish. So nobody can say that Jyotish is non-bona fide. Anybody who says that immediately becomes implicated in the Nam Aparadh. 4th Nam Aparadh. What is the 4th Nam Aparadh? The Shruti Shastra Nindanam. To blaspheme Vedic literature, to criticize Vedic literature or literature associated with the Vedas is the 4th Nam Aparadh to be, which occurs in chanting of Mahamantra or Harinam. Therefore, nobody should criticize Jyotish. One thing we may say, that the conclusions of Jyotish, they are subordinate to the principle of bhakti. That we can say. But to say that it is completely non-bona fide or it is bogus or one should not follow it, if one criticizes Jyotish, then they are criticizing one of the 6 limbs of Vedas. And to criticize Vedas is to perform Nam Aparadh. And which Nam Aparadh, dear devotees? 4th. What is the Sanskrit term? Shruti Shastra Nindanam. To criticize the Shrutis, the Vedas, and other Shastras which are limbs of Vedas. So it is very bona fide Vidya. It has been practiced since the beginning of time. But there are very few who know this Vidya nicely. Many people are engaged in Jyotish Vidya nowadays for the purpose of earning money. And by little knowledge, they are engaged for the purpose of earning money. Very few people are there who are genuine on the path of Jyotish. So it may take some time to find a person who is expert enough. Srila Prabhupada himself used principles of Jyotish when he was traveling. It is mentioned in Prabhupada Lilamrit that Prabhupada would avoid travel on Thursday and certain other days. It is mentioned that Srila Prabhupada often followed the principles of Jyotish. Because when it is favorable for bhakti, one should follow it. When it is not favorable for bhakti, one can optionally keep it aside without disrespecting it. Srila Prabhupada himself also followed it. Sometimes you will see if you see a photograph or if you see a video of Srila Prabhupada, you will also see he is wearing some gemstones on his hand. Gemstones come from which Shastra, dear devotees? Jyotish Shastra. So all respect was given to Jyotish Shastra by our Acharya himself. But at the same time, he never considered Jyotish to be superior to the principle of Bhakti Shastra. Bhakti Shastra still acquires the highest principle. This is the answer to that. Thank you so much. So when should we pause? What is the stopping time?
15 to.
So it's 15. Oh, wonderful. So, Jai Ho.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for a wonderful presentation.
Haribol.
Nice answers also.
Thank you.
Thank you, devotees, for joining us. Prasadam will be downstairs in basement.
Srila Prabhupada ki.